Hello and welcome. Today on the show, we're going to go international. Is it Satay Sauce? Is it Satay? Who knows? The only thing I know is we're getting sassy. Thank you for joining us. This is Sauce Spoken.
And we're back. We are Sauce Spoken, and tonight we are Siamese, if you please, and we are Siamese if you don't please. Da-la-la-la. We are the podcast reviewing your favorite sauces, dips, and condiments. I'll be your host tonight. My name's Adam. I'm joined here tonight by my co-host Tori.
Thank you, co-host. Yes, again, my name is Tori. Hi, pleasure to be here. Thank you. To my right, another co-host, Eric.
Which, hello everyone, sort of throws off the Siamese part. Doesn't that mean two, Adam?
No, that's Siamese twins you're thinking of.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think that doesn't have... I mean, we're already stretching it already because this is a Thai sauce that we're talking about tonight. We'll just spoil that surprise. That was my stretch of the night.
Your subtle, not so little, subtle lead-in. Gotcha.
Just me having fun. It's the little things in life that entertain me.
There you go.
But as usual, we appreciate all you guys listening to us. If you enjoy the show and you'd like to help us out, one of the best ways to do that right now is to go on to like an iTunes or an Apple Podcast and give us a rating, or especially if you can give us a written review, that really helps us out. As of recently, we are now on YouTube, a new little addition to our lineup. So if you feel like you can check us out there, some people have expressed that it's a little bit easier for them to listen to us in that format, and there's another platform there that you can give us some written feedback in the form of barely literate comments, if you prefer.
Love YouTube comments.
Yeah, exactly.
Love YouTube
Truly
comments.
one of the... I can't wait for anthropologists, 1,000 years from now to look back at that and to study our culture.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be real sad, because YouTube can be quite a cruel place.
Among other things.
Yeah, absolutely.
A wild place.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's a wild place. It is truly one of the last frontiers of the internet still left.
Yeah, it's like a Wild West.
Unrestricted.
Oh, wow. Wow, that is interesting. That's true, though, largely. One of the last places, I mean, if you think about it, you're right.
One of the last bastions of less moderated speech, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. But
I'm sure people, I mean, YouTube is owned by Google. Not to get way off topic here, but...
Yes, that's true. It is. It is owned by Google now. Well, that's kind of funny because I think you guys probably remember back. That's the sad thing is that there are listeners who are adults now who probably were born after we started using YouTube. Well, no, maybe that's not true. I wonder when, because I think YouTube was like 2004 or something when they came out. I think it was around that time. But original YouTube videos, if you guys recall, it was a very different website. I mean, for being as similar as it is, it was very different. I mean, every video had to be under 10 minutes. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
It was almost like the Vine of its day, back when Vine was still a thing. Now the Vine is YouTube of yesterday. I don't know how. Vine's gone too is what I'm trying to say. Now it's fucking TikTok.
Vine was great.
Yeah, Vine was funny.
Vines
were good.
And speaking of TikTok, you were going to start up in addition to your OnlyFans, you were going to start up a Sauce Spoken TikTok, weren't you?
Gonna do, what do they do on their lip syncs? That's the hip thing now? That's what's cool.
I don't know. That's one, I drew the line kind of like when we started getting into like Snapchat and stuff, and I just kind of, everything past that point is lost to me. That's where I drew my adult line where that'll be a future generation thing that's lost to me.
That'll be something for the young snappers.
Young snappers? Are they turtles?
Wow.
Whippersnappers.
There you go. That's what you're looking for.
Young snappers.
Oh.
It sounds gross. So, E, how's your week this week?
My week's been good. It's been long and busy, but it's been really good.
What's got you down, E?
Got me down.
Yeah. It's a long week. That implies, not an easy week.
Yeah, I mean, we've been real busy at work, which is, the normal. I know we say that every week. I woke up actually, I think I've been oversleeping this whole week, just sleeping through my alarm. Actually wondered this morning if my alarm was broke, ran some tests on it.
Oh yeah, it's broke, all right.
yeah, it's definitely user error, or, it's all on me.
There's more than the alarm that's broken, that's for sure. I actually wanted to kind of talk about that. That was something I had written down to bring up. How your naps doing for the year? That was one of your resolutions for the new year, was to take fewer naps.
That was, and I got a couple naps in since this last.
You'd have been just so better off just keeping your mouth shut and not saying a damn word and exposing yourself.
You kind of almost set yourself up on that initial episode as like you gave yourself an out. Because you were saying like, oh, well, 80% of people give up all of their things by February, so it doesn't really matter anyways. And it's like, that's kind of the wrong attitude to take. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure.
What's the percentage that give it up within the first 20 days?
I still feel like I'm doing like
he was done within the first 10 days.
I'm still napping.
You're doing less or fewer? Are you taking shorter naps, or are you taking less quantity of naps?
Less quantity of naps.
So that's fewer naps.
Oh, God.
If you're taking shorter naps, that would be less nap.
Taking fewer naps so far this year.
Oof. Wow.
On a related note to that,
still awake out there.
And this is something I was actually thinking about, and this is about to get even more fun, because do you know how many naps you've taken so far this year?
Yes, like 3.
Like 3 or exactly 3?
Exactly 3.
Okay, that's pretty good, because that was one thing I wanted to mention, kind of on a piggyback to your point about setting New Year's resolutions. Is if you guys have heard the term setting SMART goals before?
Sure. Well, I've heard of setting goals. I've not heard of setting SMART. What do you mean by that?
It's an acronym.
It's an acronym, which I actually pulled it up here because I was going to show you guys. But the idea that is essentially your goals need to be very, specific, measurable, achievable,
reachable, timely, unlike this joke.
Yeah, realistic and timely.
Timely.
And so that's kind of the key there. I think if you had said, take fewer than 2 naps per month, and you could have actually tracked your naps, I think that would have been a much more. I think you would have been much more likely to actually achieve that goal rather than just kind of making it a blanket statement.
True. I think the Kickstarter thing was more of the actual goal for my. I'm pretty sure I led with that. The whole spend less on Kickstarter, do less Kickstarters.
Well, I think that you should aim to use more of your Kickstarters and buy fewer of them.
There you go.
Because as we've talked about before, a lot of the Kickstarters you have, I think you estimate at one point roughly $25,000 worth of board games in your house.
Right.
So maybe that would be a thing that we could, play some of those board games.
That would be enjoyable. That'd be the intent of having them, that's for sure.
Tori?
Let it spin.
How was your week this week?
My week's great. I opened my wallet for the first time ever. I'm a tightwad. I went on Amazon. Yeah,
I got your pry bar out for that?
I did, yeah.
Crack it open.
My acetylene
can
torch.
Opener, yeah.
I bought a brand new book bag to use to carry here to and fro from the recording studio.
This
the
is a
Nerd
nice
Palace. One. Yeah, it's a nice one. Yeah, I retired the Mike's Hard Lemonade beer box that I had for forever and ever. So
yeah, a little sheet, like a cardboard, like a thin walled box.
Yeah, like a 24-pack, 6-pack holder. Like
you had a box and a 6-pack holder in the box.
Right?
Oh,
yeah. Well, sometimes.
And you had your famous heroin spoon in it, right?
Right.
Your plastic heroin spoon.
Yes. Have it out right now. It's covered in this interesting sauce.
And it's never been washed, right? You're just seasoning it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, plastic spoon.
Licks it clean. Yeah. That works.
Yep. Throw it back in the bag, in the book bag now, instead of the old beer box that I used to use. So, that's the highlight of my week. Yay. Pretty cool stuff, huh?
On a related note to that, there's a little fun fact about cutting boards, and they say that with like plastic spoons, or in this case cutting boards, they tend to, because they don't absorb moisture, they tend to allow bacteria to maintain themselves in kind of like the cracks easier than like a wooden one, where the wood itself will actually pull the moisture out of any harmful bacteria and kill them that way. Just a little tidbit I learned, that sometimes, you may consider a porous material to be less hygienic, but maybe it might be more hygienic to use a more porous material like that.
I'll be damned.
There's some interesting counter evidence on scientific study there. I've always heard the opposite, that you want to use your meat boards will always be plastic because you can, ideally because you can bleach them or whatnot. You can really use harsh chemicals on them.
I think it's all nitpicking anyways. I think because it's really like, as long as you fucking wash that shit, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. So, I'm not relying on the power of air drying to sanitize my utensils. So,
well, I chopped up our chicken that we ate tonight on a plastic cutting board, in case you care.
Yeah, that's very good. You did actually. We don't usually get into this early with what we tried the sauce on, but you were kind enough. I didn't even have to prompt you. You actually took the initiative to prepare us some chicken skewers for this week's sauce.
Equally shocking as you shared with us the sauce before you got here.
Yeah, that's one of the things I have a bad habit about, is not picking the sauce until the absolute last minute. Not intentionally a secret, unlike many of the other things.
Closely guarded. Every week is an adventure.
That's what we do here. That's our motto. Every week is a sauce venture. # teach the sauce-roversy.
Teach the sauce. What?
Sauce diversity. That was a hashtag I came up with back for. I don't remember what sauce that was. Oh, I remember what that was. That was when I was saying that we should use the Heinz 57 on the sausage biscuits and gravy. That's what that was from.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've still yet to try that. That's a Waffle House special, right?
Well, I mean, you can get that anywhere. That's just the place I know they have both of those on request. So
Right.
sauce is on request now. They used to be available on the counter, but now you have to request all the salt and pepper and sauces. So.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh, I got coffee this morning at a drive-through, and I asked for 3 cream and a sweetener. And I got my coffee, and it was black. I was like, God damn. And then I looked in the bag that they provided, and there was all these individual coffee creamer cups and sweetener packets, and I realized, oh, that's right. This is 2020 and 2021, and we can't, God forbid we put creamer into someone else's,
Well, I don't
drink.
think they always, maybe at this specific place, but I don't think that's like a given. I wouldn't assume that they're going to put my stuff. I'd actually prefer they didn't put it in so I can micromanage what I put in. Because I don't trust.
I suppose if you're going through like a drive-through to get a drink and you ask for it to be,
I guess. Generally,
I think that's
especially
reasonable.
with fast food, my general preference is the fewer humans in the process, the happier I am.
I think that goes for a lot of things.
Speaking of the few humans, the better. I think this sauce would probably be better off with the fewer humans tasting it, probably the better. At least human contact, I think would probably be ideal. I may be shooting my shot a little bit early here, but I saw the opportunity, had to take it.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track there. I'm actually questioning, based on the visual appearance of this sauce, I was actually questioning if there is possibly human in the sauce.
Oof.
Because it looks like there's maybe possible ground bone material, but we're really we're getting ahead of ourselves more than we usually tease a little bit. So let's why don't you lead us off there, Eric? Why don't you tell us what we're going to be tasting this week here for a sauce?
Sure. I went ahead and used that advanced knowledge of 24 hours to look ahead and see what would be good on this sauce, and I made some chicken skewers, as I mentioned earlier.
And some rice.
Oh, wow.
But I didn't try any of the sauce on the rice.
Yeah, we didn't eat your rice either, so boycotting the rice.
And so we're doing a satay sauce.
Yeah, why don't you spell that for listeners? Because we had a little bit of a controversy on how that's actually pronounced, and we kind of settled on satay. Not saute, but satay, I believe.
Satay, yeah.
So why don't you spell that for us?
Satay. Satay sauce. And this is an Asian.
Well, this is the brand is Lee Kum Kee, which is LeeKumkee.
Yep, it's a very interesting brand name. I mean, obviously Oriental. I guess I shouldn't go very stereotypical. I suppose maybe I shouldn't be saying that. But yeah, it comes in a little jar and with a red lid, glass jar, which we all like glass, right? It seems like it's nicer.
Yeah.
Generally, I think we all like glass.
8-ounce container, and it looks like, boy, what does it look like? It's like a Tori, you said wood?
I thought it smelled like wood.
It does kind of look like
it looks like sawdust,
like wet
almost.
sawdust too.
Wet sawdust.
Okay.
Actually, I think that's pretty damn accurate. It looks like wet sawdust.
Yeah.
I also like the visual art on the front of the jar and on the top there, where it almost kind of has like that vintage PowerPoint transition fade. When the orange to yellow graphic there.
I think it's supposed to be like a rising sun, maybe. That's what I keep getting from it.
Oh, there you go.
I can kind of see that.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, it's or maybe it's a fading in and out, like from small to big rainbow, like you're trying to say there, Adam. I don't know if that's where you're going with that or not.
Sure.
But, yeah, it's interesting. It's not expired. Hey, that's a plus.
Hey, well, okay. Well, I guess we didn't check that. That might have been one of the things we probably should have checked based on our experience. But
yeah,
no,
just check now. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because when I opened it up, and it was to talk about we were starting to prepare this.
Well, that was initially a thing too. I when I first grabbed, my lovely girlfriend was kind enough to go grab these. She ran down to the local Asian market for us to grab a few sauces, and this was the one of them that I wanted to do tonight because the other ones were kind of a little more too similar to something we've already kind of done recently. So this was the most, I would say. I told her to get weird ones. This was one that she settled on as kind of a weird, unique one, I guess. So
yeah, well, Yeah, it's definitely unique. I mean,
It's weird, all right. Yeah, it's bizarre.
And there's multiple types of this sauce, right? I mean,
Well, yeah.
if I say satay sauce to, someone over there in like, Indonesia or India or even, China probably, they would know that there's multiple types of this sauce. There's different types of ways to prepare it. Actually, saute itself means like cooked meat and dipped into a sauce, and generally it's peanut based. So Americans tend to, and many other cultures even, have commonly just called these peanut sauces.
Okay. I do think this seems relatively authentic. I did kind of want to draw some attention to that the label is written in both what I presume to be Chinese as well as English, and it puts the Chinese first, so I assume that was some, that to me that portrays some degree of authenticity, I guess.
It's made in China. It's a product of China. It says it right on the label.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Very good. Did you finish describing the label there, what we're looking at visually?
No, I really didn't.
Because it's a smaller it's like a baby food sized jar, I guess you would say, right?
Right, yeah, I said 8 ounces.
Okay.
For someone who doesn't know what 8-ounce jar would look like, it's about 3 inches high.
It's a cup.
8
ounces is a cup. No, it is literally a cup.
Yeah, it's true.
That's also basically a cup.
Well, it's actually 7.8, but anyways.
Well, it's actually 7.8.
And you have the whole, you're not getting a whole cup worth of sauce in here.
There's due to evaporation when you move the cup over the water, so.
Anyways, it's got like a golden, oh gosh, I don't know, almost like a golden stained glass window kind of for their logo.
Around, let me take a look at it. Yeah, kind of like well, it almost looks like kind of like a henna pattern. We get like that henna tattoos, kind of like the filler.
Well, I would
block,
say that's what's behind it. I mean, they're just their logo, the actual logo.
Oh yeah, no,
itself.
that's the PowerPoint presentation transition fade thing I was talking about. The old slides,
it's got that going on there too.
The old star wipe.
Back when we did in middle school.
And then it has a picture of chicken skewers. Looks like breaded, more like deep fried chicken though.
Oh no, because that was actually, and we didn't plan this. Like I said, I did tell you what sauce we were doing, but I didn't give you a whole lot more heads up other than the literal type. And if you look at the jar there, one thing of note is that there's actually a recipe on the side provided for you, and the first recipe they provide is a recipe for chicken skewers.
Right, chicken skewers with pineapple and peppers. And
I'd actually like you to read. Can you read that recipe verbatim, because I actually want to make a little bit of a point about that.
Sure, be happy to. It says to marinate sliced chicken meat with 3 tablespoons of water for 30 minutes, and then skewer your pineapple pieces, bell pepper pieces, and chicken meat, and grill or pan fry until done with the sauce, and you can serve with extra sauce. 1 tablespoon.
Yeah, that last part there was kind of the key part I want to touch on, was to serve with extra sauce, because, well, as we were getting to, this is a little bit of this was an odd one, I think we all agreed, if nothing else.
Yeah. Totally weird.
When I opened it up the jar for the first time, I saw, because I was the lucky person to do so, it was like a red liquidy sauce. And I actually
It's
dipped...
kind of brownish, right? Or are you saying there was red on top initially?
Well, it was like a dark brown red.
Okay.
It wasn't like bright red. It was a browner, muddier kind of red. And I had been shaking this thing fairly vigorously beforehand.
And I was shaking it long before I even actually, I had it turned upside down. I shook it for a while. I could tell that was having no effect. I turned it upside down to let it sit there for probably the better part of 2 hours tonight before we came over here.
And that's what I failed to really inspect or realize, that my shaking had no effect at all.
And then you opened it, and I said, "Did you stir it?" Because I had explicitly told you to stir it. You chose not to stir it, and then you opened it anyways. And you said, "Oh, yeah, I should probably store it."
The Taskmaster is here tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Got up my fucking whip and I cracked it across his back.
My goodness.
I said, "Stir the fucking sauce."
Ugh.
Long story short, though,
I'm tired now.
I got a spoon, and when I tried to stir it, it was like hitting a brick. It was...
Well, yeah, I saw. You almost couldn't penetrate at first.
I couldn't.
Frequently a problem you have. Usually due to consent.
Wow.
Jesus. And yeah, it took some work. I really had to whittle my way in there with a metal spoon, and then it took lots and lots of stirring to actually get this to separate. It was literally it was shocking how much effort I had to put to get that to break up. And but once it did, it was starting
How was
to
it, E?
suspend inside the
Right.
that top liquid, of,
Which-
oil, essentially, coconut oil.
Which is an interesting point. I actually like to skip ahead to something else we usually do too. Can you read us the ingredients? Because there's something on there I kind of want to touch on as well.
All right. The most dry, horrible parts we're just zooming right through here. All right. So we got soybean oil.
The second 2/3 of the podcast is just going to be me and Tori talking the entire time, and viewers have chimed in that that's what they would prefer. I'm just kidding.
Soybean oil, peanuts, sugar, coconut powder, shallots, peanut paste, salt, dried shrimp, sesame paste, chili powder, shrimp paste, onion powder, garlic powder, turmeric powder, contains soybeans, peanuts, coconut oil, and milk and shrimps.
Wasn't there some kind of maltodextrin thing or something like that?
Yeah,
Did you skip
I
over
skipped
that?
over that.
I know we
So
did talk about that, but you
inside
got to
the
read that.
coconut-
That was what I was waiting for. That was the one thing I was waiting for you to say.
Inside the coconut powder, it contains coconut extract, maltodextrin, sodium caseinate.
Yeah. Well, that was actually the thing I wanted, because we looked that up because we were curious what that was. For once, we actually did some research before the podcast started, not in the middle of the podcast, and we learned that was apparently. And can you say it again for us, Eric? 3 times fast.
Sure. Maltodextrin, sodium caseinate.
Yeah. So we learned that that's actually apparently an emulsifier. Like you're saying, I don't know how that worked in this exact sauce in this instance here.
I think it worked a little too well.
Really?
Look at this. I spread it on my plate. I mean, you could spackle your walls with this.
It does have that kind of texture where
This
you
is
can
weird.
very easily spread it smooth, almost like a joint compound type of.
You could float this.
Yeah, exactly. And you were kind of doing that. I was watching you earlier.
Yeah, and
Like
that was my experiment. I wanted to see if it moved, and it doesn't.
Which is interesting too, because I don't know if you guys have ever done any like mortaring, if you've ever used mortar, but the texture of this it's like almost like a fine gravel, not thick like concrete with the thick aggregate, but like a thinner aggregate.
Right.
It's an oobleck.
To me, and I'm going to really spoil this because this was kind of the key point of this sauce, is that this sauce is almost identical to like a powdered mortar mix in terms of consistency.
Agreed. And back to our wood chip, our wet sawdust.
Do you remember the toy Squand?
No.
Back in the day?
I don't know that one.
There's another name for it, but it was marketed as Squand. And the sand, you've seen it a million times. You take it out of the water and it turns into regular sand. And then if you were to squirt it underneath water, it makes these like sort of structures and things like that.
No, I've never seen this.
Yeah, it has a scientific name. I guess if you mix like sand with some type of hydrophobic type thing or something,
Cornstarch or something? Or?
Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I'm the old timer here. But when I was growing up, there was a product called Squand, and it was marketed for kids, neon and all this other things. But it would.
They have a new name for
you.
it. It's actually out now. It's I can't think of what the heck they call it. Though.
Yeah,
like
but
magnetic sand or something. They call it now.
Something like that.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's not.
Or kinetic.
That's not for use underwater though.
Yeah, that's true. It's really not.
I knew I was talking about that kinetic sand stuff, but that's just kind of like that, non-Newtonian fluid type thing where it's, hard if you apply pressure and soft if you don't apply pressure. Or you apply a little pressure.
Yeah, more like your oobleck statement, which I remember making in grade school.
I actually don't know what that is either.
But that was I would refer that Squand. If anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Wait, what is the oobleck thing?
The oobleck is the non-Newtonian fluid. It's another name for it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I never heard of that before. So that must have been a thing that you guys got in school before me.
Science class, science project there. You always mixed up inside a plastic bag, right? It was like cornstarch and water.
Yeah. Green food coloring.
Yeah, you know what? I have done that. I forgot that name, but yeah, I'm on board with you now. Oobleck. Okay.
Oobleck.
Yeah. All right. Definitely have done that. But no, this is the. Tori, why don't you kind of lead us off with your initial tasting notes, or your initial thoughts on this? Maybe not even tasting is the right word.
Yeah, I was impressed with myself. I wrote down fishy prior to any really seeing the bottle or the label at all. So
the ingredients, yeah.
I was impressed with myself there because I definitely got some fishiness to that end. I thought it smelled like a Long John Silver's.
Oh, wow.
I actually thought it smelled pleasant, to be honest with you.
I'm not saying that's a bad smell.
I want to get another sniff here.
Yeah.
It smelled sweet and like peanuts.
I do kind of get where you're coming at from like the burnt hush puppy aspect.
In peanut oil. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I do get that now that you mention it.
Yeah, so I really thought it smelled like Long John Silver's, which would be a pleasant smell otherwise. The taste, I didn't particularly mind. The texture was weird. I equate it to taking a spoon of brown sugar and shoveling it in your mouth. That type of the consistency that sort of fights your tongue a little bit as you're trying to work it on its way down. I got a sweetness up front. The texture was not pleasant. My smattering on this corner of this plate here still hasn't moved. Yet, like the other sauce, It moves sort of as a unit.
Right.
Yeah, retains its shape in a really weird way. I don't know.
Mine is actually just kind of separating on my plate, like the oils are kind of coming out from it, but it's not. It's almost like it is curing, almost like a mortar or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
that's weird. So that's like a peanut mash meal in there. Is that what that is?
I think that's what we were kind of debating earlier, because that was why we had looked at the ingredients to see if there's anything bizarre in there. What was the name again, there, Eric, of the thing?
The
quasamotodrine.
Maltodextrin sodium calcinate.
That was actually why we looked that up, to see if that was perhaps responsible for the texture of this sauce, because it's gritty. I mean, it's straight up like eating sand. And I think that we were trying to debate on what exactly was causing that. And like we had mentioned, there's, some peanut in the sauce. We thought maybe it was a finely ground peanut, but it's also like a finer grit than that. We had debated maybe like some raw, non-dissolved granules of sugar or salt or ground, like you said, maybe even a ground shrimp shell or something.
Right,
I don't know that.
Right. Your statement about human bone isn't probably far off. There's probably shrimp.
It looks like like bone. It has that kind of like off-whitey color, which makes me think it's probably a large part of it peanut. But there's a lot of it that is that fine grit that it's like sand. I mean, you're straight up like eating sand.
It's sandy.
Yeah, I mean that is. I don't see how you can get. It's like eating, especially if you had a really fishy beach, like there's dead fish on it, and you just scooped up some sand, threw some peanut butter in it, and some oil. That's what this shit is.
I have to wonder if a little bit of heat wouldn't help that emulsifier, wouldn't help break down these sugars and
it just seems
this
liquid
grittiness with just a little bit of liquid, like a little bit of pineapple juice, or a little like it's suggesting on the back there. Use it as a marinade.
And that's why I had you read that specifically, because we did wonder about that. We've made this mistake before, like with the Hooters sauce, where we didn't serve it as in its intended way, and we really missed out on the concept a lot. Whereas with this, you made it. You could not have done better. I mean, you put it on chicken skewers, prepared exactly like the recipe on the back without even knowing that. And it does say specifically on that recipe on the back that you can use more of the sauce. It's not like this needs additional preparation. They're telling you to use it straight from the jar.
This looks and feels like cinnamon roll filling.
Yes.
Like pre-baked or something.
Pre-baked.
But see, the thing about that is that it doesn't have that grittiness to it, whereas this does. The appearance is 100% one-to-one with that.
Literally the first word on it says marinate, though. I mean, if you marinate this, you're going to get the extra juices of your chicken, and it's going to break down and work on that, salt and grittiness and dissolve some of this a little bit.
I'm going to go marinate something in the top tank of your toilet if you keep talking that shit to me. It says straight out of the fucking jar. That's the last thing it says on there.
I don't know, man. Is this a big hit in Thailand?
I can't imagine. I mean, this brand actually has a whole lot of other sauces, and I would kind of like to try some of the other ones to see if they're better than this. Now, granted, I've had like Thai peanut style sauces before. Definitely none of them were even remotely close to being like this.
Wow.
No, they're savory and really but the peanut and like a hint of
sweetness,
like spices.
Usually.
Yeah, sweetness or spicier too. They can be spicier.
I think there actually was a hint of spice to this.
I got a hint. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I got a little bit of the fishiness, definitely a lot of the peanut flavor, and a little bit of the heat and the sweetness. The flavor itself, as we had discussed, is not really bad. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but the grittiness and the texture is just so... I mean, I made a face like I have never made on this podcast before. Not with the Hooters sauce, not with the roasted red pepper sauce, not even with the ghost pepper sauce did I make a face like that. This was repulsive to try.
The larger grit particles have a cornmeal mouthfeel.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Which, there's nothing like that. And it actually makes me wonder if it is like some kind of like ground up shrimp shell.
Yeah.
Because some cultures do eat, shell of seafood. And it is edible. It's high in calcium, and it gives a lot of that good, like kind of like umami flavor. That's what they make a lot of like seafood broth out of. So I could unfortunately see that being part of the case, but I just can't imagine anyone finding this texture pleasant. regardless of content or makeup.
Even the shrimp peanut combination to me doesn't seem particularly an umami or particularly tasty. It just doesn't ring with my taste buds.
Well, I think that's like a very Thai thing to do, like the peanuts and the seafood. I think that, to me, at least I understand that concept. That makes sense to me. Like I said, truly, and I've had lots of phenomenal Thai food before, so I don't think this is it. I just don't understand this at all. I don't understand. I feel like something is wrong with it. That's why we spent so much time going over it. Does it need water? Does it need to be cooked hot in the pan with the stuff? Does it? What are we doing wrong here? Like you said.
Yeah, I definitely think like your comment about the brown sugar in the mouth, like just that cakiness almost to it.
Sort of fights you.
It fights, right? I mean, there's definitely there's definitely sugar in this that is.
It's sweet. I mean, it's got sweetness to it.
But it shouldn't be that hard to
no.
eat.
And that's another thing too.
Sugar should be broken down more. Should be more liquefied somehow.
Like if you make cookies or something like that, or anything where you mix like an oil and sugar, like it won't necessarily fully dissolve, but it won't taste like that. It's not like eating just grit.
Yeah, cat litter.
Yeah, so I don't really, and it's finer than that. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, to me, it's like eating sand straight up.
Yeah, not pleasant, not good.
No, it really wasn't pleasant, unfortunately. And I had such high hopes for this, too. I mean, I looked ahead a little bit. I thought, ooh, a Thai cuisine sauce. Like, oh, man, this is going to be super good. I'm going to make these skewers. Cooked up that chicken, and it was such a letdown.
I know. I had high hopes for this, too. And honestly, you cooked us all this chicken, and luckily you hadn't eaten dinner yet because, I mean, I had like 2 bites of the chicken with this sauce, and I couldn't eat any more.
Yeah, I actually managed to choke down 2 whole chicken strips, 2 whole skewers coated with the sauce.
You ate 2 skewers with this?
I did.
To me, this was so immediately off-putting. I just couldn't finish.
Yeah, I couldn't finish.
I had 2 bites in. That was all I could manage.
I think it was maybe just a testament to how hungry I am or how foolish I'll be later when I'm regretting my decision. We'll see.
You think it'll mess you up?
I don't know. It does have milk in it.
That's really? What the casein thing, that is actually like a milk derivative of some sort, so... maybe.
Yeah, I'll probably be okay.
You can let us know. We'll give us a little update. We'll post it on the next week's podcast.
You made a comment about the peanuts and the shells and not playing around. I mean, maybe it's just an American talking, but yeah, I mean, that whole idea just turns me off immediately. And I like peanuts, man. I like peanuts in anything. I like peanuts in M&Ms. I like a handful of peanuts at the ball, whatever, at the ball game. I like peanuts a great deal. Any derivative of nut, any legume for that matter.
Well, a lot of restaurants, but I've definitely seen restaurants have a peanut sauce on their burger. And it's good.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, that sounds shaky.
I like peanut sauce on chicken. I like it on beef. I've never actually ventured to try peanut sauce on seafood before, and like I said, it just seems like a really weird combination to me, and this sauce comes across as weird. And maybe it's because of that fact that it has like shrimp in it. Yeah. I don't think it smelled fishy. I didn't get really the fish notes per se. I got more of the peanut flavor and sugar. I mean, I was just like literally having to press the pieces of chicken into this grit to try and like scrape it
Fill
up.
The cracks.
Yeah, to get it to like stay. Yeah, like spag. Yeah, it was just.
You're using it like a fucking mortar knife. That's what you were doing, like one of those little
basically
trowels,
Basically, it wasn't going to stick by itself because the sauce was oobleck.
It's an oobleck, all right. Yeah, I wrote down fishy, and I put a question mark by it because I thought if I say this out loud, I'm probably going to get laughed at.
And then I started reading the ingredients, and you were like,
yeah. So I was a little self-conscious about the fishiness, but and it's not a very. I like fish. I like fish a lot. I could eat fish every day, any type of thing that swims. But that's an unpleasant fishiness.
When was the last time you had a dolphin steak? No,
sorry. I'd try.
How would you know?
Yeah, I'd give it a spin if it was in front of me.
So I wanted to just kind of run through their website really quick. They seem to have a lot of different products, so they're definitely giving off the illusion of success, even if it didn't reveal itself to us in this sauce. But
Chinese corporations are the zenith of good business. So I mean, I would
exactly.
expect no less.
Yeah, flawless. Yeah. So I just want to scroll through this website a little bit really quick here, and you guys can just call out if you see anything that looks interesting.
Curry sauce.
I can definitively tell you almost that nothing will appeal to me on this list.
Honey garlic marinade. Korean marinade.
There's a bulgogi, which I've always been kind of curious about. I don't really know a whole lot about, but There's a Panda brand sauce, which makes me a little suspect. I don't know if
it says
that's
specifically for Kung Pao chicken, which I just recently had last weekend, and it was really, really good. Some Kung Pao chicken.
black bean chicken. Sauce for black bean. They're not very creative with their names, I've noticed. They have a sauce for black bean chicken. I'm not really sure what that is.
It's lost in translation, dude.
I'm sure.
They're very frank about it, like what they just say. It's kind of like the Yellowbird condiment. It's just sauce for this dish.
Spicy garlic eggplant. That'd be an interesting sauce, maybe.
There's our
TG is cringing over there.
Yeah, spicy bean
there's
sauce.
spicy bean sauce.
Puke's giving. I'll see you next year.
Spicy garlic sauce would always be up for trying that, too. Could definitely see us being adventurous and trying some of these other ones.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this might have been one of their all three strikes out for me. I don't know if I'm brave enough to continue on after this.
Yeah, this is just too weird. This is very, very strange.
What's interesting is I didn't see this sauce, actually.
Yeah, they seem to have scrubbed this from the website. I wonder if this is like a knockoff or something. That's why it's so fucking bad.
Oh, you know what?
Impersonating the brand.
That's right.
You know, another thing China is known for is its famously loose copyright infringement policies. So, I mean, it's totally possible this is some knockoff.
I mean, this has the yellow and orange logo, and the one on the website is just solid red.
because if you look on the back of the label, it also has the solid red on there, too.
Oh,
so I
okay.
think it is legit.
Okay.
Enjoy your lead sauce.
That's what the grid is. It's just,
Extra lead.
Yeah, it is interesting because if you look in their products, I didn't see it, and I also don't see it in their. They have like a recipe finder, I guess, and you can kind of sort. You can kind of sort out. I was going to see if we could
Recipe finder.
I was going to see if we could find another recipe for this stuff here that maybe sucked less, but they don't seem to list it on there either. So I don't know. Maybe they've just totally wiped this from their lineup. Maybe I got it from maybe my girlfriend got it from like the Chinese clearance section, the stuff that's going out of the list.
So this is specially imported just to us Americans.
We have to move it before the FDA rules change, and we can't serve it anymore.
Yeah, really.
They do have a tips and tricks section on their website. It looks promising. The first thing on there is how to prepare soybeans for the best flavor. Maybe there's a section on there for how to make this sauce edible.
I really do wonder what a little bit of cooking, a little bit of heat wouldn't break down those sugars and make it less gritty. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
But to Adam's point again, they expressly tell you to slap more on.
They say put more on.
They say you can if you like that grittiness.
They don't say for extra grit in your food. One of their little tips and tricks was how to halve cherry tomatoes easily, and they're meaning to cut in half. I assume here. I didn't realize that was a thing people struggled with.
What?
Yeah, I'm a little bit. Well, let's take a look at this article here. Let's do some in-depth journalism and see. This has got to be like a front or something for the Chinese, whatever their version of the Yakuza is.
No, if you don't have a sharp knife, it can be pretty challenging to chop up.
To cut a fucking tomato in half. Don't even start with that shit. You're not even going to be a defender of this arrogance.
Yeah, dude, you got to be a real rubber roomer not to
use a knife. Cut the shit in half.
To cut many of them at once, I've seen a little trick where you take the two plates. You guys hip to this groove?
No.
So if you have to cut a whole mess of cherry tomatoes all at once, you put them on like a round plate that has a little bit of like a divot in it. You know what I mean? So it sort of flares out the plate. You put a plate, an identical plate, on top of those tomatoes, and then you just run your knife in between the two plates. I mean, if you have to cut a boatload of tomatoes, if you're making a big salad or something. But thought that was a pretty slick idea, assuming you have a knife long enough to.
Well, let's see. They provide a little video for some instruction here. It's only 25 seconds long, so we'll take a look at that and see. Maybe that is their little trick. Maybe that's maybe there is something to this, and I was giving them a little bit shit unduly.
If they do the plate method, I'm going to scream.
They're just going to use their hand.
Nice.
Yeah, so for the listeners, there you have it. They kind of did a version of Tori's trick where instead of using two plates safely, they advise you to get a sharp knife, and then instead of cutting the cherry tomatoes one by one, you press about, a dozen or so in a little pile and put your hand directly on top of them firmly and just slice between the board and your hand.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong, truly? So,
wise. I think that's a wise.
I'm going to go ahead and not advise our listeners to try that little tip and trick, and I probably, for legal reasons,
what about my tip and trick?
I think Tori's is good. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Let's use Tori's trick.
I would say if our listeners want to try that, probably go with Tori's idea over this website.
Hats off. Wow, I tell you, that was as informational as hell. Grab a tomato and a knife and cut it thusly.
Tell you what, if you're looking for a real sharp knife, I highly recommend those ceramic knives.
Is that so?
I do.
You know what? People tend to gravitate towards those knife sets, especially if you're getting like married or something like that. And my thing is like, steak knives are good to have. You know, it's nice to have a set of steak knives, like 6 of those. And other than that, and I'm a person that does a fair amount of cooking. Other than that, I find myself needing a paring knife, you know, like a little 4-inch paring knife. And other than that, like, you know, a 10 or 12-inch whatever butcher knife. And that's really about it.
You mean like a chef's knife?
Chef's knife.
Okay.
Doesn't they call it a butcher knife too?
I think butcher knife's like the square shape.
The square chopper.
Oh, it's a cleaver.
Well, that's true. Straight butcher. You're right. Okay. A butcher knife, also known as a chef knife.
Chef's knife, whatever you want to call it. Like a 12-inch chef's knife. Victorinox is a good brand. That's what I have.
It is a good brand.
And I feel like that's really all you need. I mean, all the rest of them is a bread knife. You need a serrated bread knife. So maybe what I'm getting at is maybe you do need a block of knives. I don't know. What the fuck?
At least 5 or 6. I mean, if they come in a block, then so be it.
All right, well, I think we've been pretty clear on this, but let's go ahead and let's get around to the... do we think we need to do our heat rating on this? I mean...
I would not. I think it was just too sweet. I really don't think there needs a heat rating. What do you think, Tori?
I thought it hung around. I thought the length at which it hung around was far greater than the level of heat initially.
I think I'm willing... So you're saying you're in favor of a heat rating?
Yeah, it's ain't going to be high.
I think I'm in favor of it too, because I think there is some intent of heat in this sauce. I don't think it's a sauce that's designed to not have any heat, so...
I think it would be better with more heat.
Yeah, I agree with you too.
That's probably fair.
So I would say let's go ahead. We can give it a, you know, kind of a tentative heat rating there. We'll see where we come in with that. Eric, you want to lead us off with your rating on the sauce?
Sure. I think we're all in agreement. It's not one of our top ones we've ever tried. I'll start with the heat rating. I'm just going to flat out say it's a 0 for me. I didn't think it had any spice. I think it could have used more heat. What spices they put in there, nothing really hit for me personally. And I had a fairly sizable quantity compared to what you guys tried.
Yeah, you had a lot more of it than I did.
Flavor wise, I can't say it was really good. I really just, unfortunately, I wanted to say it was good, but and the flavor, that's just it. The flavor itself is tasty. It's interesting. Right. But it's so off-putting with the texture, and there's something just a little bit off about it. It just didn't quite hit home. I'm going to give it a 3, which might be generous, but I think that's...
Wow.
It seems fair to me.
That does seem... well, I don't want to spoil, but it does seem generous to me, so...
All right, Adam, what did you think of it?
We'll let Tori, because I have some thoughts here, too. Like I said, I try not to spoil it with my own thoughts, because I try to influence enough, so...
All
Tori,
right,
Tori,
hand off the other direction.
Well, I'm going to surprise you guys. I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10.
No, you're not.
I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10 because I would use it to point the bricks on my house again. In terms of taste, I'm going to give it a zip.
Wow.
Goose, egg, dude. Yeah, it was no good. And I was just licking it off my plastic spoon, the aforementioned H spoon, and it's staining my plastic spoon.
Oh, no.
It left a bit of a residue on my spoon. So what the hell is it doing to my insides, man?
Yeah.
I came into this not particularly caring for Thai food.
To me,
it certainly didn't help matters.
Man, I don't know. To me, this has nothing to do with Thai food at this point. I've never had Thai food that was this whack before in my entire life. And you do make a good point there. Like I said, on my plate, it's actually starting to glisten because the oil is separating and coming to the top as the more, the aggregate, like I had mentioned, is kind of settling to the bottom.
Yeah.
For me...
Wait. What was your heat level there, Tori?
Oh, no, take it away.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. You're fucking done now.
Well, yeah, the heat rating, I don't know if that was, I may have mentioned before, it lasts. I took a little schleck of it now. The length in which the heat lasts is longer than the initial shock of the heat. And I'm certainly inclined to agree with you, Adam. I think the intention of heat was there. It's not advertised, it's not, front and center like the ghost pepper was, or it's not front and center like some of the other sauces were. But I think there was some aim there. Give it a 1 on the heat, just because it lingers as much as it does.
Yeah, I was just doing a little bit further investigation into this, and I was trying to determine the makeup of the grit in it. And most of it seems to be kind of like a homogeneous blend. Like, it mostly looks, like I said, kind of like peanut, except for maybe peanut that wasn't cooked or something. It's not soft, it's hard. It's distinctly hard.
It's almost crystalline.
Yeah, I would definitely describe it as crystalline. That's why it's almost like if like a synthetic peanut or something like that, like a synthetic peanut powder. But there's some other chunks of like black materials and some little red ones and stuff in there too. So it's not just one thing creating this grit, which I find very concerning, especially the large black charred looking chunk. I don't think that came off your chicken, Eric, so I'm not sure what that is.
Might have come off the chicken.
No, it was definitely mixed into the sauce, so maybe, but I don't know.
Have you guys put a finger on this? Have you guys had the opportunity to get a real tactile haptic feedback on this?
I just did recently, kind of.
Because it is weird.
It's sand.
It's sand. Oh, yeah.
I don't like it.
It's wet sand.
It's like sand and petroleum jelly.
What?
Yes. You're spot on, because it's not water. It's not like that cool wet of water. It's almost like that warm wet of, well, it's the oil and stuff in it. So
yeah, right, yeah.
This is so bizarre. This is almost worth getting just as like an experiment. Like give it to your kid as a toy or something. Don't eat it. By God, by any measure.
Whatever you do.
Whatever you do, don't eat it. But don't let your kid put his fingers in his mouth either. But I mean... you ever
seen those like stress toys that like you can
those
like
little
put
balls.
your fingers into and like it'll like remain, like
it is kind of like that, but it's like a thicker. The grains are like thicker than that, but
it would be interesting to pour this into a plastic baggie and just see how similar.
A balloon, yeah, like a latex balloon or something. That would, I think it'd be a little bit more liquidy than that, but I think you're on the right track.
Well, can you imagine the sad day when that
bursts?
Yeah, when that bursts.
Oh,
you got however old fish paste or whatever the hell's in there on you.
Does this say it must be refrigerated after use?
It does, yes.
Okay, I think so, but I wasn't sure.
Let's fill it up in a stress ball, throw it on YouTube, see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. We do it. Yeah, we have a YouTube now, so we could do that. We could upload some real videos. I think for me, oh man, the flavor wasn't bad. I would say it was clumsy. It was very ham-handed. So it did have certain flavors in it. It did have some sweetness, some spice, the peanut, but the flavors weren't like a nice little medley or a bouquet. They weren't really incorporated. They were just very clumsy, punches of sweet, bam, a little bit of heat, bam, and then peanut, and then, it just, to me, nothing was cohesive at all. It was just these individual kind of flavors in my mouth, and like I said, the overall experience because of the grit was, petrifying. So
that's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, I was about to say that. A clumsy is an outstanding way to put it.
And that was why I didn't want to kind of color you guys' viewpoint, because to me, I think that is, if you had to get the, quintessential word for this, it's just clumsy, both in the execution of the texture and in the flavors. Altogether, flavors weren't, and there's a little bit of a smokiness almost too as well, which I got mainly in the smell, not so much of in the taste. But again, like I said, not a pleasant smell, not a terrible smell, but not a pleasant smell either. And
maybe the turmeric powder? I don't know.
I don't know. Turmeric usually gives a lot more color before it gives the flavor as much, and I'm not getting a whole lot of that yellowish color in here, a little bit, but more of an orangey color. So yeah, I think to me, I'm not gonna give it a straight 0, because to me, like, that would be like mud, I guess, or Hooters wing sauce.
Right.
This is better than Hooters wing sauce.
I don't know. I'm really struggling because,
really?
Well, that's what it's. I almost wish we had a separate rating for like texture. Texture would be like a -1. I mean, it could not. Texture could.
But texture is at 0 Kelvin.
I'm struggling to think of a texture that could be worse than this. Like, I'm truly trying to think of if there could be a worse texture than this for a food. I guess if it was actual sand and you couldn't like break it up with your teeth, that would be worse.
Yeah.
Grass clippings that were left in the bag on a hot summer week.
I mean, well, at least that would be like something you could like chew. That would, if you didn't have a sense of taste or smell, you would be able to, that might pass as like a salad or something, I guess. But
maybe.
Yeah, to me, I would say...
That actually brings up a funny story, kind of funny story.
Let me finish my rating really quick. Okay. I'm almost done. And so I would say probably for flavor, I got 0. I'm sorry, 0 on this flavor. I can't...
Who are you apologizing to?
I don't fucking know, I guess.
Me neither. That's
yeah,
why
0.
I asked.
The listeners, because normally I try to give them a little bit of points for fairness, just if there's anything redeeming about it at all, which... Like I said, to me, there's no reason you would probably have to pay me to put this in my mouth again. Like, truly, I'm not going to do it voluntarily.
It's weird.
As far as the heat goes, give it a 1 or a 0.5. Probably a 0.5. Pretty low on that. Like, I was, if I have to ask whether we even have to put it on a spice rating, and we're all kind of vacillating on that, I feel like it needs to be pretty damn low. So I'll go 0 and a 0.5,
no
flavor
question.
and heat respectively.
Gotcha.
Eric, you had a little story for us you want to share?
Yeah, just about your grass clippings comment there. I have a friend who's a landscaper, and he said how he once had left the clippings in, exactly as you were saying, the back of his, hopper there, the back of the mower that had collected all these up and let him get all rank and nasty over a hot summer. And when he went to go to finally pinch off his nose and take care of this stink pile, he found a possum living inside there, going ham on all of the maggots that had gotten into the grass clippings and stunk. Just terribleness.
That is vile. Thank you for sharing that with us.
That's pretty grotesque, yeah. Maybe in the running for this sauce, though. With or without the possum?
I don't know if possums would eat this. Possums are actually one of the main predators of ticks. So, I mean, possums have a home in my yard any day of the week. I'll happily have those over ticks and other creatures like that. Also, immune to rabies because of their blood temperature, I guess.
Good for them.
But yeah,
Super high, I think,
I think they're very low.
Oh,
they're actually much lower than most warm-blooded mammals. I think that's what it can't propagate in their cold blood, I guess. I could be totally wrong about that, but I'm taking a hard stance, as we're famous for doing here.
It's so bizarre, I can't imagine it.
It sounds good, doesn't it? If nothing else.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
So yeah, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it up for this week's Sauce on the Rating. Pretty underwhelming week. I think it kind of put us all in a little bit of a down spirit trying this sucky of a sauce. Truly, I mean, it really didn't do anything for me.
I wanted to like it. When you said the name, I didn't do any Googling. I didn't do any of that.
Nor did I.
And it was entirely antithesis to what I was expecting. I was expecting something in a long neck bottle, maybe something reminiscent of soy sauce, the old soy sauce bottle. I was thinking something far more liquidy, watery, viscous, whatever the hell we decided word is that, but watery ultimately. Yeah, this is entirely different from what I had in my mind's eye. And
you were thinking of something like a Szechuan,
I don't know what the hell I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean, I have zero frame of reference for Thai food. I just sort of made up my mind years ago that that's something I'm not going to like. And I don't know how close this is to Thai food or how much of a staple this is in Thai cuisine, but I will not be running to a Thai food restaurant anytime soon.
Well, like I said, for you and the listeners, don't color your judgment off of this for Thai food, because I've had some phenomenal meals at Thai places.
Yeah, if you like Thai food, God love you. It's just not my cup of tea.
And I feel like this is in no way indicative of please do not base your judgments based on this. I mean, truly, this was...
Right, I need to make a note as well that I love Thai food, and this sauce rated so poorly because...
I've never had anything even like this before, anywhere, much less a Thai food place. I mean, not even remotely like this texture-wise.
Not texture, but the spices you're saying. You get a hint of garlic, you get a hint of the peanut, you get a hint of the sugar. Though. Yes, less clumsily.
If they were incorporated correctly,
is that even a word? Mr. I like to be so grammar respected.
What word?
Clumsily.
Yeah, sure. Take a hard stance. People can blast us if it's not a word. All right. Well, I think that's going to, thank God, wrap it up for our week on this sauce here. And I mean, we can only hope for something better than this next week.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, Jesus. I mean, it can only go up from here, I would think. So
go out, buy a jar, put a texture on your ceiling. It's great.
It'll certainly stain it with the color, if nothing else. So. Eric, you have any closing thoughts for us this week? Anything you want to leave us with? Why don't you read us your Tinder bio? We can see if we can find you some ladies. I actually did kind of want to touch on that. Why don't you get your phone out and we can read your Tinder bio and you can tell us what kind of girls you're looking for. And if they want to hit you up, we can. Here's some advice. Here's some advice from one bad Tinder profile to someone else's probably bad Tinder profile. If the girl asks you how your 3D printer works, don't bother indulging her in that query. That's a little disrespectful. You can indulge them if they're interested in that, but don't write them a novel on it. Don't start your new your new nonfiction novel on a Tinder chat. You have to give them a succinct answer if you're gonna say something like that. I want to see your actual bio. I want to see what your actual bio says. I'll read it for the listeners.
You're the one who made it, remember?
Oh, did I? You didn't change anything since then? How long ago was that? That was a year and a half ago.
Are you supposed to update those things?
I don't know. I was just giving you a starter point. Let me see.
Don't look at me, man. I'm married, bro.
Let me see it.
I cashed out from that deal.
Pass it.
Thank goodness.
Pass it.
I gotta get into it.
Oh my God. I forgot your phone. I forgot your phone has a crank on it. You still have to power this thing.
The old Victrola.
It's only 4 years old. It still works.
I forgot you still had to sync the carbs on your phone.
Jesus, slow as hell. I did actually wonder if maybe that was like if there's like an unnatural lag.
Feel your phone. They can feel the oldness of your phone through the internet.
I still can't get over how this sauce feels against.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I was not sticky on my finger either, which was kind of another thing I thought was interesting.
I think that's a function of the oil.
The coconut oil.
I think you're right,
light
too.
Coconut oil.
So here's our bio for Eric. For any lucky lady listeners out there who are maybe interested in hitting our boy up, he has this to say about Eric. Hi, my name is Eric, but my friends just call me E. I love to cook. I'm handy around the house, and I love to be outdoors. Let's grab a beer sometime, have a good conversation, and see where it leads. Not interested in hookups or couples.
Well, you got to put that on Tinder.
He has
That's
an emoji car, an emoji house. You have an emoji minivan. Oh, no, it's a car. Emoji minivan and an emoji house.
Not a minivan.
2 jobs and my shit together. I don't think 2 jobs is a turn on. I think 1 job is maybe a turn on. 2 jobs is you've gone too far. You're going back the other way.
We're about to call this one a third.
And he says, if you can't swipe one sentence, if you can't say one sentence about yourself, I swipe left. Hard stance.
Hard stance.
Nice.
I swipe left on a lot.
Some of his passions: craft beer, board games, art, Netflix. Your company just says steel. Steel.
I work at steel.
I work at steel. So if you guys are intrigued by Eric's bio, you feel free to hit us up and we'll see if it's a match. We'll have him swipe on the saucespoken@gmail.com emails.
Wow, that is just down and out mean. That is just mean.
What was mean about that?
Everything from get go, from the let me see your Tinder profile.
We're getting you out there on the internet. It's the same thing as Tinder. People are getting to know you at least a little bit here. At least this is a format where you can talk for an hour and people will accept that with no responses from them.
Until we got onto YouTube, and now we're gonna have lots of responses.
You got any closing thoughts for us this week, there, Tori?
Yes, I do, and I think this sauce will allow me to rise like the phoenix out of this otherwise hideous sauce and come up with some wholesome content that would just blow your socks off. This sauce was very gritty. We all mentioned that, almost to ad nauseum. Unexpectedly gritty. I think everyone here, everyone listening, you guys are all unexpectedly gritty as well. You guys are tougher than you think. You're grittier than you think. So go out there and do it. And thank you for listening.
And all I have to say, you guys can call me John Wayne, because this sauce is true grit. That's all for us this week. We hope that you enjoyed listening to us more than we enjoyed tasting this sauce. And we hope you'll join us. Yeah. We hope you'll join us next week. Have a good night. Wow, thanks for listening. Of all of our episodes that we've done so far, that sure was one of them. If you'd like to give us some feedback, perhaps you'd like to tell us how much you don't like me interrupting or making fun of E, feel free to send us an email at saucespoken@gmail.com. If you'd like another fun way to get a hold of us, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter at saucespoken. Sometimes we like to take some funny pictures, maybe follow up on some of the things we talked about on the podcast. If you'd like to check that out, look at our Instagram. We're at saucespokenofficial. Lastly, it really helps us out if you'd be willing to give us a rating or a review or a follow on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Thanks again for listening, and make sure to check us out next week. We'll be here with a fresh new episode and some hot takes on some hot sauces. This is Sauce Spoken.